Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. In today's Spotlight episode, meet Garret Fahrbach, the dynamic manager of the Awesome Inc. Fellowship, where he leads a group of startup founders and helps build the next wave of innovators. Garrett's passion for people and impact drives everything he does, from his day job at Awesome Inc., where he's been a key part of the team's success since 2018, to his side gig as a touring musician for Broadway artists Darian Sanders and rising country star Zac Hart. We'll definitely jump into that in the show. An ethnic food lover, spearmint gum enthusiast, and adventurer at heart, Garrett's all about saying yes to everything that supports others. He's never met a stranger and is always creating meaningful connections along the way. Welcome to the show, Garret Fahrbach. Garret, man, this is super exciting for me. Thanks for being on the show.
I gotta tell you, that might be one of the best intros I've ever had. I don't know if on your end you could see it, but that intro song, I was rocking out to it. It was great.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. Actually, I just did a show for Tab. I'll throw this up here just so everybody can see it. That's the Technology Association of the Bluegrass. Mackenzie there is a coworker of yours, and I don't have music for that show yet. And it psychologically, it gets me in the zone. I get 30 seconds of jazzing up and getting ready for it. Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, man, I've been really excited to have you on the show. We've known each other for
6 years.
You started
5-6 years.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've gotten to see your career rise. I think you were in college, maybe just left college when we met.
Just left college. That's correct.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. I've seen your music career and your work at Awesome Inc., which is very cool. For those that don't know, Awesome Inc. is it's a unique thing in the universe. It's kind of an accelerator for startups. It's kind of a community base. It's kind of actually that's unfair. It's all of those things fully, but it does all of them very well. I mean, there's a software aspect. You guys have a coding school to teach locals how to code. You have an actual software company, and then and this is why I wanted you on the show, you're in charge of the Awesome Fellowship. So tell us what the fellowship is.
Yeah. Well, first off, Drew, I appreciate the time. I know you don't just bring anybody with a pulse in your show. So again, appreciate the fact that we have a relationship and you thought there's something I could add to the folks that tune in. So for me, I've been here again at Awesome Inc. since June of 2018. So it's been a blink, but it's also been a lot of time and a lot of learned experiences. And for the fellowship, that is what I would say our team is really proud of. It's a program that was honestly why we got to be around entrepreneurs. The very quick background of Awesome Inc. A couple of our founders started a business in college. They thought it was very successful. It wasn't the epitome of success. They tried to sell it to Facebook. Facebook's pretty much said, no, you're worth a couple $100. Came back to the University of Kentucky where they were finishing their master's degrees, and they hounded their former president, Dr. Lee Todd's assistant, to let them get a meeting. Finally met with this very successful entrepreneur. He gave him a little kick in the rear of go try again. You guys are young. You're not losing anything. They started our software firm, then realized that's great. We're glad that we're working with people and supporting them and offering solutions, but we want to help the people like us that don't know where to go, don't know where to start. How do we do that? And so the fellowship is really the backbone of the identity of Awesome Inc. And it is a non-equity taking accelerator where we have two different cohorts, one that will launch in the spring, one that will launch in the fall. So we work with 8 unique Kentucky startups a year. And as of this fall, we're going to be investing $25K into each of these companies. And then the goal is to help. Yeah, that's right. There we go. To help each of these companies gain more traction, become healthier businesses over the course of a year with our team, our resources, our talents, et cetera. And for people that don't know, an incubator is going to be an organization that helps an idea form into a business, where we're an accelerator that we take companies that have some form of traction and help them grow. And if you're maybe not business savvy, I always use the analogy. Most of us at some point have seen an incubator with baby chickens inside of it to grow warm and healthy. Use that analogy, but instead of chickens, we have people in their companies.
Sometimes they're half-baked.
They're half-baked, yeah. But the cool thing before we move on, Drew, is I was looking at some metrics before we hopped on this call. And to date, since end of 2013, early 2014, so about a decade now, the fellowship has worked with 86 unique Kentucky companies. And not all are still around. Some have been acquired. There we go. That's a lot.
86. That's a lot.
86. Yeah. And then they've created 788 jobs to date that did not exist a decade ago, and raised 155 million in outside investment.
155 million. And how many jobs? 700 jobs?
788. So we're getting close to that 800 mark.
800 jobs.
Yeah.
That,
So
you have to write your, I tell these people all the time, you have to write your story, right? Like,
yep.
At one point we're all going to be 80. That's the goal, right? And when you're 80, you won't have time to write your story. You have to write it today. You have to go throughout the time. My boys, they're 14 now. We got involved with this group when they were about 12, and it was just a bunch of dads, and we would just take the boys out and do fun things with them. And every day, the safety briefing, I did the safety briefing, and I said, remember, you only get 10. Yeah, right. I said, listen, you only get 10 chances to mess things up, right? Just 10.
That's good. I like that.
So you only have 10 chances to mess it up. Yeah. Nobody gets hurt, because then we'll have to tell mom, and she won't let us do it again. And when you're deciding whether or not I should do this dangerous thing, the only question that you should ask yourself is, will it make a great story? And I feel like that's really great advice for a 12-year-old. Like, that's how they should see life, is what sort of impact are you going to make? And Awesome Inc., and you've been a big part of that for the last 6 years now. You've been, Awesome Inc., I think it's been around 15, 16 years.
Yep. 15.
Yeah. 15. So you've been a huge portion of that story. It's super exciting to have you on the show.
I appreciate
it. Tell me how you got into, because your background is not high tech like folks would really expect. You actually have a music background, music and entrepreneurship. Correct. How did those two connect?
Yeah. So I'm going to try and keep this very short, because this is a long story. So I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. I grew up at one of the largest churches in America, Southeast Christian Church. And so for me, it was normal to be at a youth group of 1,100 kids. The guys that were my worship pastors, my friends, were writing and producing albums. And so that was the path I wanted to go. And then I did this program in college called Governor Scholar Program. Very blessed by it. It paid for my college. Dream school was Ohio State, go Bucks. But paying $40,000 a year or free tuition was very obvious. So it came to Lexington.
That's all the time of the show we have.
That's all the time. We cut it off. Well, that's another side. My dad's from Ohio. My cousins were athletes at OSU, so I grew up watching and supporting family. But to Kentucky, got my scholarship for UK, came here, had some connections, was really involved in a couple of local churches, a campus ministry that had some really cool avenues for me. And then we're going to talk about one of my best friends, Darian Sanders, a friend who was a mentor, now turned best friend. And there are a lot of cool things opening up down the road. And so for me, I thought I was going to go back to Louisville, work at Southeast, or go to Nashville. And I had some connections in the music industry and creative space. And what was really unique is how I got to Awesome Inc. Lexington was bottom of the list. I was like, I got what I needed from college. So let's go back out in the world.
Yeah.
And what I did not know was how freaking crucial it is to remember that what people think of you either opens or shuts doors very quickly. And when I was a senior, one of my good friends, Keith McMunn, who was a longtime coworker, he used to work at a campus ministry at UK. He was one of my small group leaders, left my, I think, junior year, and then came on staff at Awesome Inc. So we didn't see each other for a year and a half. Went to a career fair at UK spring of my senior year. So spring 2018, let's call it February or March. And I was going to talk with other companies, not Awesome Inc. at all. So I went to talk with other companies, and I remember this day vividly. I'm dressed up. My mom's calling me like, Gary, you got to go apply to jobs. It's just not going to fall in your lap. So I'm going to resumes, talking to other companies about front-end web design, because I started doing some front-end software stuff. And I realized, Awesome Inc.'s going to be here. That's where my buddy Keith is. Let me just go pop in and say hey to him. And so I go, and at Awesome Inc., we do things very differently. A lot of Oreos, a lot of banner-ups, a lot of Nerf guns, just not the traditional suit and tie. We like to keep it fun and fresh.
Yeah, so for those listening here, you can understand why I and Awesome Inc. get along so well, because everything that he just said, I'm into.
Yeah, Drew makes the coolest custom Nerf guns in the United States. I'll stand by that. So I pick up this Nerf gun. Keith hasn't seen me yet. Pick up this Nerf gun, shoot Keith right between the eyes. And that was how we got connected. He's like, what? Everyone's laughing. It's like 6 people. Everyone's laughing. We catch up. And then he realizes, you're here to career fair. You got, khakis on or slacks on and some resumes. You're here for a job. And I said, yeah, I'm talking with this company. Pulls over Brian, whom I've never met, who's my current CEO, and introduces me. Keith edifies me, only to say, here's Garret, longtime friend, yada, yada, yada. And he sells the best weed at UK. And he walks off. And I don't get flustered very easily, but that one, that felt like 20 minutes, and it was just one of those. Yeah. Luckily, Brian played it off. Again, I never met him. He's like, "Oh, you're the guy I need to know." Haha, just kidding. What's up, man? Obviously, if Keith's gonna bring you over to me, I wanna get to know
That's
you.
his scream.
Tell me your name. What's your story? And then here's what was very eye-opening for me, and I wish this is what college was teaching students. I'm at a career fair trying to schmooze people, trying to sell myself as this great guy and everything. The guy who
Yeah.
I should be schmoozing turns around and says, "Hey, you seem like a good guy. How can I help you?" It's like, "Okay, well, if you're asking me, I watched my brother as a software engineer go get 3 to 5 different job offers, leverage Google, Microsoft, Facebook, you name it, and get the best offer. I'm 22, man. How do I do that? Who's going to take me seriously?" So that was spring 2018. The rest of the story, in about 3 months, if Brian told me to go do something, he invited me to a career fair, a tech showcase, you name it, got me interviews with his friends. If he said to do something, I did it. It was just realizing I'm asking someone for help. I'm stupid if I don't take that advice. And
Man,
then,
I cannot tell you how many times a younger engineer asked me for advice and I said, go do it. And then they didn't go do it. And
mhm,
I remembered that every time I remembered that because I was like, hey, you asked me how to succeed in this scenario. You should go do
yeah,
this. And they wouldn't. And the few that did, those are the ones that you put in your pocket, so to speak. And as you rise, um, they rise. And this is a lot. I've heard this versions of this story a couple of times, but like this is so critical for people to understand. Yes, you need to be good at what you do. Yes,
mhm,
you need to go get the skills, but you need to have good friendships, not in a weird, creepy way, but like when people give you time and advice, execute on it. Yeah, I
yeah.
love it. Keep
Well,
it going.
and to that, man, it's so I've always been a huge lover of people. I mentioned GSP. I grew up in a massive church. I've always been around people. People are amazing. We're supposed to do life with people.
Yeah.
And I also had the parents I'm very grateful for that would never say I'm shy or prevent me from doing something. It was go fall on your face. We'll pick you up. Hey, there's an adult. Look them in the eye, shake their hand. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, thank you. All that stuff. So that was very natural for me. And I realized as I was getting older, how many times people either ask for advice that's unsolicited, which then is received as criticism, or someone asks you something, you give them the help, the advice, the compliment, whatever, and then when they just ignore you, it makes you feel like crap. Like,
Mm,
I thought we had a friendship. I thought you respected. Okay, well, I just it's fallen on deaf ears. And so I knew if I was asking someone that, and Brian is an awesome guy.
right.
Not to use awesome, too much, but Brian was an awesome guy. And I realized if this is someone that has some of the results in life that I'm wanting, they have the clarity, the guidance. I'm a fool if I just turn my back on that. And lo and behold, the way that things happen in the long run, some of the stuff in Nashville was mostly contract based. My mom was very much like 4K healthcare, play it safe. And then the job I was going for at my home church, I made it to the last interview, and I got told no at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday. It was the last week of May in 2018. Got told no when I was eggs all were all in the Louisville basket. That was moving back there, already packed up. Told all my buddies, get told no. I'm bummed. And then if you don't know Brian, he is a night owl. He works late schedule, so no one bothers him between his two companies. So that way he can focus, do all the productive work that he needs to do to move the needle forward. But Brian sends me an email at midnight. I see the next morning, and lo and behold, I get told, no, we're not going to bring you on for this one job. Hey, Garrett, let's have a conversation. I think we're going to make a spot for you in the team. So he offered me a job I never applied for, only to find out two things, and then we can transition from here, Drew. Number one, the whole time Brian was getting to know me, he was secretly vetting me, which I was oblivious to. And then
Oh, let me pause on that statement.
yeah,
100%. I said this to my kids all the time. They are always watching you. It doesn't matter who
yep,
they is. They are always watching you, and you don't get the opportunity for certain things.
yep,
Like all the jobs that are being posted right now,
yep,
those are one of two things that's happening. They've already assigned the person that's going to have that job, and they just have to
correct.
technically,
For legal purposes.
right, for legal purposes, we have
Yep,
to float it out there for 3 months so that nobody
yep.
sues us. But 100%, all the really good jobs have already been filled. You just don't know it yet.
Hmm.
And then the ones that haven't been filled, it's a vetting process.
Oh yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
was applying to jobs in spring 2018, and there were companies that reach out to me a year to year and a half later, like, "Hey, we just got your interview, or we just read your resume, or whatever." I'm like, my life has moved on. That is so frustrating. So again, I applied to 70 jobs. The one job I got, and I'm still here, I never applied for, technically. So that was
Yep.
cool. And then the guy who made the final decision at the church in Louisville I was applying to. We spoke on the phone and caught up first time in a couple of years. And he told me a couple months ago why he didn't give me that job. And I've always been curious. And
Yeah.
it was a nice close on that chapter of life, on that door. And again, it was one of those comments like, man, as the leader, I thought that I knew what I needed and I wanted to protect you from maybe getting feelings hurt or, the phrase, like when you get a peek behind the curtain when the glass breaks type of analogy. He was sharing that and then realized I told you no and I prejudged. And man, did I quickly realize that you were the exact person I needed on the team for morale, for spirit, for heart, whatever you want to say. And he's like, man, I never told you that. And that was one of my biggest mistakes as a pastor. I was like, man, I'm 28. And that took me back to being 14 years old when you were my youth pastor and I looked up to you and you invested in me. And wow, talk about finally getting closure in just a really special moment. So, but I'm also very grateful because if I was not in this position where I am, gosh, life would look different. And I quite frankly don't think I'd want it to be any other way.
I think that I've gone through kind of an interesting ride over the last couple of years, which you set your heart on something and that doesn't always come through, or like I got to do some fun stuff, but then it didn't go as long as I wanted it to. If we look at life, like this moment of life, and we're like, somebody needs to save me from it, or God, why didn't you save me from it? Or like, oh, well, I'm taking this second, like this is my primary path. I didn't get to do it. Now I guess I'll be happy with this secondary. I call it the pawn shop gift. Like that's not always as terrible as we think. A lot of times we either were saved from something that we weren't expecting, or this was a much better path for us to begin with. Right.
Yep.
So that's very cool, man. Also, I will say this, as a leader, I've been pretty good at it because I was underneath a couple of leaders that weren't good at it. When you meet somebody on day one, let's say that you're here and they're here.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years goes by, you're going to increase by a little bit because you can't really increase by that much more. You're already pretty talented, right? This person is going to kind of get up to this level. 4 years, 5 years, it may actually be like this. And it's really hard as a leader to have mentored somebody here and then to let them mentally grow. My general advice for folks is start at a company, work there 2 or 3 years, and then either switch departments or switch companies altogether. And the reason is leaders, you may have grown up to here, but they can only ever see the growth up to there because there's ego involved. There's a lot of things involved. But when you switch, you're here and everybody that meets you, what used to be your ceiling is now your floor, and you have a solid 3 more years. And so the advice to the younger person is switch. And the advice to the older person is, hey man, you got to let them grow. You got to, like, every year you need to like pull your preconceived notions on them and let them reintroduce themselves to you. Otherwise you're going to lose some really great talent. Yeah. And I kind of got out of a tear there.
That's good. I mean, there's so at Awesome Inc., we have a program that we started called the Kentucky Entrepreneur Hall of Fame. I know you're very familiar with that.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that a lot of people will know his franchise is called Outback Steakhouse. Chris Sullivan went to University of Kentucky, very, very, very successful man in the hospitality industry amongst his other co-founders. But what you just said is something that I think behind me, I don't know if you can see it, but we've written a couple books called Unbridled Spirit that compile all of Kentucky's, actually I think it's just out of frame. Okay. Just out of frame. That compile Kentucky's most successful entrepreneurs, their best life, business, wisdom, advice, whatever you want to phrase it as. And one of the things that he talks about is in life, we all talk about like climbing the corporate ladder, but he talks about essentially climbing the ladder as a mentor. So you can only go so far with somebody, and then you can't be afraid to say, I've gotten what I needed from you. Now it's time for me to switch to somebody that can help me in this vertical, in marriage and finance and whatever. And that was one of the first times I read that. And I thought, that makes so much sense versus you get to like the end destination and then you just prolong the maybe inevitable breakup, or you prolong, let's do this once a month, once a quarter, whatever it might be.
I'm going to put the Unbridled, I think this should be the right Amazon link here. It's down here in the comments. No, it's a great book. And I love that we did it. But actually early in my career, I had a friend, his name was John French. He was a mentor to me. He took me out for coffee one day and he said, hey, you have to leave. And I think I've told this story on the show a couple of times, so I'll leave it. But yeah, as a mentor, he kind of set the bar for me on expectations of, it's the reverse of what you're saying is, you have to, pretty soon you realize that there's no one person that's better than you in every category, right? You probably are the best in some category. And so you have to make this composite mentor. That's all these different people that are your
Yeah.
peers and your mentors. And, like I have one guy in particular that I ask about raising kids. Like if I get stuck, I call this guy. I don't ask him about other things though. I mean, if it's money or raising kids, I ask him that. I don't ask him about it in other areas.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a weird place to live as a leader. You go through this spot. It's kind of like having a parent that dies. You just kind of assume that other people are adults, but no, they're just people.
Come on, man. Yeah.
And then that means that it's your job to, kind of carry the torch or carry the load for your region of life.
Yeah.
Because you're somebody's mentor. And yeah, it's a cool part.
Yeah. And to that, one of the most important guys in my life, my cousin JD was a former Olympic athlete. And he's easily helped mold me into the man I've become today. And one thing he's told me for years, and it's something that cannot be stressed enough to anybody, but just check the fruit in someone's life. If someone's going to give you advice and they don't have the results you want, let it go in one ear out the other. But if somebody does, figure out, okay, so what were they willing to sacrifice and what were they willing to invest? And how do I do that? And all I know is I remember I had a buddy who was always poor with finances, some from his upbringing, some just from his personal decisions. And right after school, he got a new car and he started telling me all this investment stuff. And I just knew, I was like, dude, I look at your lifestyle. I don't want what you have. You can tell me that you have this car payment and this and you're in debt. Great. But I remember leaving that conversation thinking, you don't have the fruit in this area of life that I want. So it'd be foolish of me to take it as truth when I got other people that have succeeded in this area. So let me listen to what they're saying.
I actually have a friend of mine, actually one of the guys I most respect in life, who is significantly younger than me. He and I both had this similar guy. The guy's 60. I will call him Craig because that's not his name. But Craig used to be really good at business, but somehow lost the lucky charm. We don't really know. It's just obvious. We don't understand. So what my friend will do is he'll ask Craig, what would you do in this situation? And then if Craig says, oh, I would do this, he doesn't do it. And if he's like, no, that's a great idea, he's like, no. And if he says that's a terrible idea, then that's what he does.
Yeah.
And my friend has had a lot of success. So
doing that,
it's hilarious. Like, I'm like, did Craig tell you not to do that? And he's like, yeah. He always,
nice.
Just funny. So you get to, it can swing both ways. Just because somebody's not a great mentor, sometimes there's this really great poster. Have you ever been to despair.com?
No.
All right,
should I go?
It's fantastic.
Okay.
So despair.com, it's all these motivational posters. It'll be like a picture of an eagle and it'll say like leadership.
Oh gosh, so tacky. I love it.
Yeah, but then underneath it says, sometimes life is an endless soar of being alone, or something like it's these sarcastic, sardonic. Despair.com. If you have 30 minutes of your life to waste, it's worth it.
That's
my
funny.
favorite one is there's a bunch of like oil tankers and they're like sticking out of the water like this.
Sure.
And it says mistakes. Sometimes your job is to tell others where the rocks are. And I love that because it brings redemption to the mistakes that because we all make stupid mistakes. And sometimes they're not mistakes. We risked something on a good bet and we just came up snake eyes. It just happens. What I've been on this journey over the last 3 months of meeting with a bunch of guys my age and older who we're all talking about our dark times together. And everybody has those shipwreck moments. And I think that it's been super healing for me to realize that my shipwreck moments, I mean, I need to learn from them. Don't do that again. But if you're in the game of entrepreneurship, there's shipwreck moments. Shake it off. Enjoy it. I mean, for whatever there is to enjoy it. At least you were alive and had the adventure of being on the ship.
Exactly.
And then go to the next one.
Yeah. I mean, I think to that point, name any video game, any movie, any TV show, any novel that we read, and we think, man, I want that in life. It's all about the pursuit. We love the journey, but when it comes to us, we're afraid to look foolish. We're afraid to mess up. But like you said earlier, those are sometimes the funniest stories. Whether I have some funny dating stories, I have some funny business oops. I've done some stuff musically that was just egg on my face because I wasn't prepared. But they were all good points to help me be better for whatever that avenue of pursuit
Yeah.
was, or to gain that skill set.
Yeah. So that brings me up to this phrase that you say a lot, and you say this to the founder or to
Yeah.
the fellowship companies. It's okay to have a bad idea. A
Mhm.
lot of times, especially when we're younger, but honestly, anytime in life, we'll have this idea that we're fixated on because we think it solves this thing. Um, and you say, "Hey, man, it's okay to have a bad idea." Tell me why you say that and what that kind of means.
Yeah. So there's the notion that we as humans, we like to justify our actions, our beliefs, our thoughts, and everyone else
Mhm.
is wrong except we're the exception. And I think I said this to you earlier. We have a tendency to think that our poop doesn't stink, and I'm using poop as the idea.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we've worked with people that might have this startup idea or this new e-commerce good or service or a piece or an app, and it's bad because they've never spent 10 minutes to Google search and see what their competitors are or see how profitable a like or similar business is. So they're going to put all their time to something that is going to be second place no matter what. Or there's people, and I mentioned this to you, there was a company that I'll say within the last 10 years that we've been around, they spent a significant dollar amount building some software, and they never talked to a single potential client. And I remember hearing the story, it was before my time. Like, so you're going to build something for people to buy, but yet you never ask someone to even look if they would consider buying it. Okay. That seems backwards. And I think with ideas, we just get nervous to be told no. And we assume if someone tells me no, it's because they're rejecting me as a person versus, no, I just have no use for that thing. You're pretty great, but that thing wouldn't help me in this part of business or this aspect of life or as a dad or as a mom.
yeah.
And also, I think part of it is, and again, we're adults, so I can say this, I think the way that we teach people, if you look back through our education system to go back to World War II to fill factories, or sorry, World War I to fill factories, it was tell people to receive, to regurgitate, and then to perform, not, hey, critically think and be creative and get out ideas. And I've realized that even working on a team, if I'm only come up with one idea and then I share that, that's shame on me because that's probably gonna be a bad idea versus, hey, here are 10 things I thought of. I don't really care what happens from it, but I'm casting a seed. So with a lot of the entrepreneurs, and we can pivot from this, Drew, I encourage them, go talk to, like, double your failure rate. Oh, there we go. Double your
There it
failure
is.
rate.
Double your failure rate.
Yeah, go talk to more people and let someone tell you no versus you say no in your head to somebody. And I've realized it doesn't matter what it is. NFL, being a Grammy Award winning artist, being the best bodybuilder to the best chef. All those people, doesn't matter what avenue, they've written more songs than me. They've lifted more weights. They've ate less refined sugar than me. They've slept more than me. You name it. People who are at a high achieving pinnacle of whatever sport, arena, vehicle, it's because they've gotten told no more and they've learned more than, we'll say, me in the sense, who was afraid to get told no. So again, with entrepreneurs, you got to get told no so you can learn either the skill set or learn what people would need. And the only way you can learn and double your failure rate is by doing.
It's let me float this. This has been in my noggin for the last month, and I don't know. You're like the second person I've told this to, actually.
Wow.
So one of the things I used to do is I used to write simulations for government entities. We'll leave it at that.
That sounds super sexy.
Yeah, strategy games on steroids mixed with AI. It's super fun, super interesting work. And so I don't think, and this is like, you're a musician. I'm actually not a musician. I can't touch time. Like, I know that there's a beat, but I can't, like, there's no internal metronome. It doesn't work for me.
It's called jazz, Drew. It's called jazz.
Oh yeah, there we go. I'm going to use that from now on. My rhythm is jazz. Okay. So what interests me is when you play games, they're all turn-based. Now, sometimes we're playing simultaneous turns, but if you are a faster runner than me, what that means is that your legs covered more ground. You took more turns than I did. And if I'm a giraffe and I'm taking these big, long strides, but you're like, I don't know, a cheetah, you can turn on a dime because you have more options. You have more opportunities to make a change, right? So, all right, this is where this is getting to. This is where it gets exciting for me, at least. If it takes you a year to make a decision, then essentially you get 80 turns in a lifetime. If you can make a decision in 6 months, you get 160.
Yeah.
If you can make a decision in 5 seconds, you have millions more. I've not done the math, but you have infinitely more opportunities to adjust than if you are a slow decider. So mastering the ability to recognize, did I make my goal or not? Do
Yep.
I need to make a change? Making that change, doubling your failure rate means you get more turns to take in life. Some people only get so many turns. So they mess up once and it's a big deal.
That's it.
Yeah. Others of us, if we can make those fast turns, adjustments, then we can fail all the time and still be a success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. Well, cool. So let me first, we talked about Awesome Inc. I want to talk about your music career for just a second. But before we get there, and I don't think that you know this, we have a lot of the same friends. And so I found a video of you that I thought I would share with the audience from a couple of years ago. So I want you all to have a feeling for who Garret really is here.
The man on the moon. We made it. Colin's here. Dude, get your butt in the seat right now. Just, zoomed in. Bing. Cool beans. Cool beans. All right. This evening, iridocyclitis. Full service waste management. Oh, Awesome Inc. Butthole.
These are fantastic. So those are bloopers from Awesome Inc. Awesome Inc. does a thing called 5 Across. It's like a show. And Garret ends up as the face man for that. So many times. So that's I hope you enjoyed that little.
So fun factory about that. I love that you pulled that up. Not many people have seen that. So I after college was obsessed. I mean, obsessed with CBS's Survivor. Never watched it growing up. Found it my spring or fall of my senior year. And my buddies and I, we started gamifying how we watched it. We do like a March Madness bracket, winner with most points based on the system we wrote. Got a free bowl at Chipotle. It was great. And one thing about that I really loved was the people game. You watch the show's evolution from being about survival to, wait, if I piss you off, that's to my advantage. Or if I'm not the obnoxious guy, people don't want to vote. And so I watched how this people game came about. I loved it. Anyways, for a long time, I was convinced like I'm going to apply to Survivor. And then that fell on the back burner just with other responsibilities of life, things I was giving my time and my interest to. And it's actually resurfaced recently. And that's going to be in part of my Survivor audition because I've done a fair amount of research. They don't want me to be like, hey, I'm Garret, and the reason I'd be good on this season of Survivor is I know people. Or they don't want that kind of fake stuff. They just want to see you in everyday life. That is me being me, my friend. And
that is 100% you being you.
Yeah, and you see me out of town in other places. That's me.
Yeah, one of the things that Awesome Inc. does an amazing job of is they have retreats. They have retreats for the community, which I've been I cannot express my thankfulness for being invited on those. They have a retreat almost every year. Well, I guess maybe every year. And
other than the weird COVID year.
And it is deeply meaningful to me. But so I've gotten a lot of time to spend with you, unscripted, as it were. And that is 100% who you are every minute. It's super fun.
I love that so much.
Well, we're kind of running short on time, so I do want to get in this music part of your life. So you're a musician. You play the harpsichord and the bagpipes, I think,
and the oboe,
and the double reed wood.
Oh man,
right. No. So you played the guitar. What else do you play?
So I played a fair amount of stuff. If I just give you the full scope, we can do it quickly. So I grew up. I'm youngest of 3. My mom is middle of 5. So my mom's side growing up all did piano and band instruments, and always was told, music is good for early childhood development, helps you with speech, math, writing, reading, science, all the stuff. I was a spastic kid, and I've toned down about 50%. I was the kid who was banned from sleeping over at friends' houses because I had too much energy, and I wake up at like 7 a.m. Parents are like, "This is my Saturday, kid, go to sleep,"
Right.
So my mom was actually afraid I would scare our neighborhood piano teacher, Miss Britton. I think that was her name. So I never took piano lessons growing up, but I took guitar because a family friend recommended it. And I started doing like the Melway practice books, Ferry Jacques, London Bridge, all the stuff. And then fast forward, I did like percussion in elementary school, and that was laughable. And then I did tuba in middle school through high school because my best friend and I joined band. We're like, what are we going to do? That big thing. Absolutely. And then as I got older, I did marching.
You did the tuba?
Yeah.
I also did the tuba.
No way. Dude, I didn't know that. Yeah. So I did that, and then got in high school, did marching band, Um, I'll just leave it
I'm gonna
there.
tell Andrea this. I didn't realize you did marching. She did.
Yeah.
She did marching band. Like,
I did marching band. It didn't work out in the way I wanted to. Part of where I was going in life because of other things, but the goal was if I went to Ohio State, I'd be a part of the best damn band in the land, and that is literally their name. And the goal was to be a sousaphone, go march out and dot script Ohio. That was the music. That was the music dream. And then I also was a big fan of drum corps, Phantom Regiment. Had some buddies that marched that. But because I grew up playing guitar, I started playing at church camp and this thing and jazz band in middle school and high school. And then in high school, I started playing at church a lot and became like a part of the worship team. And that was where a lot of my passion and my energy was getting fueled towards. And the guys that were the ones I look up to, that was where they were. So I was hanging out with them. And then I had a decision, my junior going to senior year of high school, had a disagreement with someone in the band program. And so we decided to split ways. And I started leading worship literally every single week. And that was where a lot of my formative years as a musician, learning how to lead, not just a service, but like lead people's from a faith perspective, because I'm a Christian, but like lead them and disciple them to the throne of Christ. But also, how do I grow this skill set? Because church culture, quite frankly, is known to have people who just phone it in. So I never wanted to do that. Finished high school, went to college, started playing with some people, met my buddy Darian, and he's opened a lot of cool doors for me. He's the kind of guy that's like, dude, I got this gig. You're not getting paid. You might get a chicken finger, but man, we're gonna go bless some people. I'm like, sign me up. Let's do it. And so I finished college. Was playing at a big church here in Lexington, but one of my best friends was a worship pastor elsewhere with 7 volunteers. And I said, 100 volunteers versus 7. I'm going to go be with my best friend. And it was the right decision. And there's been a lot that I've done in the church world, from crazy gigs to really cool opportunities to people almost dying on our worship team. And that was an episode. We can talk about that if need be. To now. Also, fun fact, my buddy just texted me who is trying to get me on Survivor. So that must be a signing to get back to him. But in terms of music, I finished college, and I said, one day I want to go audition. I want to do the music thing. So I had some church gigs, some small tours, go play at either college arenas or like a big church conference outdoor venue, and started working. I was like, I'll be at Awesome for a year. Well, year passes. I'll be here a year, then I'll go audition. And I kept kicking the can down the road because I started to see where the value of community in my life came from. And I realized like being present with people in your life is always going to be more important than whatever accolade you're chasing. However, I'm still in the phase of life that a lot of my buddies, they've gotten married, they're having first, second kid. I'm not at that stage of life yet. So I'm afforded more flexibility to go do some of this stuff. And in terms of music, I actually put on the shelf of chasing the dream, going on tour, doing stuff for where I currently am in life. I'm really fulfilled. I love what I do, but it's been cool to see the guy I play with now, Zach. A few friends were like, dude, come play with us. Come play with this guy. Come play with this guy. And I told them no for what I was giving time and my focus to. And then Zach, the artist out of Nashville, reached out to me about a year ago around Christmas. And I was like, dude, I keep hearing your name. Like, let's at least hop on the phone and talk. And I want to get to meet you. So between my buddy Darian and Zach, we're writing music. I'm playing shows with them. I just played my first show in Nashville, which is a really fun opportunity. And with my buddy Darian, he's been on Broadway. And actually, I can throw some of this stuff in the chat while I talk.
I think I already threw Zach's Instagram in there and Darian's Instagram in there.
Well, perfect. Those are fine. You're beat me to it. You appreciate it. So in one avenue, I'm getting to live out my calling and the most important aspect of my life, my faith, to do it with one of the guys that has been he was a mentor in college. And then we had this really unique moment. So I mentioned that I was playing at this conference at Western Kentucky University for FCA, and one of our bandmates had a severe allergic reaction, almost died, like to the point like throwing up, can't breathe, stab her with an EpiPen, called the hospital, very intense situation. And my buddy Darian just made a comment. I don't even remember what was said, but the way I responded to him was like in such a disbelief. And again, I don't remember what was said at all. But for his perspective, he was like, this is the mentee of mine, but dang, he's checking me. Like, this is someone I can see doing life with. And from whatever happened in 2018 or 2019, drastically shifted. So my buddy's he's gone on to be a Simba on the national Broadway production of Lion King, which is freaking awesome. Yeah, like the longest standing Broadway production. Yeah. And he just wrapped up 5 years as Simba. And
which is kind of a major role, as it turns out.
Yeah, just a little bit. But we've got to do some really cool things. Oh yeah, no, it's been awesome. Like he's so blessed. But we've gotten to do some really cool opportunities. And the last couple of years, we've done a fall worship tour where we've gone to a couple of churches, some in Kentucky, flying to Arizona. And I've gotten to lead with world-class musicians, folks from South Africa, folks from New York, folks from in the southern part of the states, Atlanta, et cetera, who are all phenomenal Broadway talented artists. Some of the other musicians are studying at some of these prestigious music schools. And I'm like, dude, I'm the least talented person on the stage. Why am I here? But it's also been really cool because that has stretched me a ton and has made some really special relationships across the states. But also on the flip side, getting opportunities outside of church, I've been able to help my buddy who's an up-and-coming artist, like think in some cool ways, maybe about trying this for his business. And, it's weird that music has now become this hybrid. I got to be talented. And if I want to be a band, I got to have a good band, but then I got to be a social media influencer, but they got to write good content and I got to be witty and funny. So how do I do all that? And so for my buddy, Zach, I'm like, man, whatever you need, you just tell me. I'm here to help make your life just somewhat better.
That's cool, man. Well, we are burning time here. We're at 41 minutes.
Okay.
I'd like to keep the show a little bit tight here. I'm going to play some outro music. Why don't you give us the last couple of thoughts for it? And then I will remind everybody to come find you on Awesome Inc.'s fellowship page. But I'm going to give you the last words, then I'll do a little outro and we'll be done.
Okay, awesome. Well, appreciate it, Drew. Well, y'all, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you reach out to Drew, like and subscribe, hit that smash button, or smash the like button. Sorry, I should do this life. But check out Awesome Inc. anywhere there are socials. We got a couple events coming up this fall, and we'd love to have you be a part of them.
Yeah, so this is the Awesome Inc. stuff. We have awesomeinc.org and then awesomeinc.org/fellowship. So if you are a beginning entrepreneur, maybe you're a solopreneur, you just have an idea, you're looking for that incubation. If you've already got some funding and you're like, hey, I want to make this a real thing, but I need a community to connect with, reach out to Garret, apply to the Awesome Inc. Fellowship. It's not just the Awesome Inc. team. They will open up a whole ecosystem, a whole world of relationships for you. Not to mention the fact, all the Oreos you can eat. So
all the Oreos.
All the Oreos you can eat. All right. So with that, Garret, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been such a pleasure to be your friend and now have you on the show. With that, we are out.